Chapter 3.
Folk history. After the arrival of the British in India, the writing of history was naturally, profoundly affected. The historian started giving a philosophical touch to every event he described. This was termed history. After the Indian independence, the events, descriptions and writings of Indians paved way for a new history. Amidst all these, as historians all over the world believed, Indians too believed that supplementary evidence was necessary. Even today it is widely accepted that without documentary evidence and proofs, history cannot be blindly accepted. Meaning of oral history. Writing about common people, especially poor peasants and laborers in the backdrop of various different ideological backgrounds, became a challenge to historians. In the absence of historical evidences, attempts were made to stir up the memories of the ordinary people to unearth details about various events. They were related to the past and present events. Many a time, these memories of the incidents had religious recognition too. Thus, in the minds of the people of Bellary region, more than Krishnadeva Rai for centuries, Kumararama was popular. Although he was their deity and remained in the minds of lakhs of people. In their accepted history, references to him are rare. The reason is that in the creations of Western historians it is difficult to accept this logic. Thus, historians resort to oral descriptions to narrate the lives of ordinary people. The history created by such oral descriptions is called oral history. Importance of folk history. In the recent decades, historians have started debating about the ways to write the history of the common people which does not have any documentary evidence. They point to the problem of understanding all events and incidents other than the lives of kings and queens. Their battles with other kingdoms and narrations about a few important personalities. Since more than 70% of the Indians were illiterate, they had no written history. But their history was equally important and, as such, writing about those who were uneducated and shied away from the knowledge centers posed a serious challenge. Hence, in the recent ages, study of the history of the common people has gained a lot of importance.
Indian. In the Indian tradition and as well as in the folk, there are cyclical views. These views needs to be defined and the way and methods by which they need to be adopted is to be scientific in the writing of history. Though the simple linear model is scientific, yet it is the outcome of a capitalist European society. This model of historical perception concluded that the Indians lacked chronology and historical sense. Initially the Orientalists followed by the colonial historians constructed the history of India, and with this perception had observed that the Indians were incapable of historically documenting themselves. In this way the necessity of British rule was argued bereft of chronology and historical sense in the Indian society. the simple linear model of perception that justified the British rule, who influenced by Marxist Indian leftist historians, significantly by Romila Thapar, who with evidence from the Puranas opined that there was a method among the Indians of looking at history in a cyclical manner. The structure and features of folk history. Historians are trying to write history based on the study of artifacts, Lavani's, folk songs and also social traditions and behavior. Many emotional, humane, creative oral narratives have proved to be a boon to historians. Through them, histories of the village and different regions, and history of the ordinary people are being created. By this it has become easy to understand the different strata of the local history. Sometimes, these narrations supplement the prevalent existing history, but sometimes they may also raise few questions. Here, more than the actual evidences, sensibility becomes more important. These feelings help creating histories about the illiterate communities. An example of this can be the successful writing of history of the African people who escaped the clutches of the Europeans. Since there was no accepted history of this race,